When I'm not playing The Lost Eye of Thundera on my Commodore Amiga 500, I love nothing more than cruising Third Earth in the Thunder Tank, listening to Aaron and John on the Amigos podcast. Thunder, 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 Thundercats! Ho!
Amigos, your home for everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasting. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Boat of Car Schaller.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to talk about Marvin's Marvelous Adventure.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler?
Yes, well I was thinking about Marvin's Mechanical Museum.
I don't know what that is.
That is it's a museum up in Detroit.
Uh-huh.
And it basically, like the Zoltar machine from Big, like those like fortune teller machines.
Oh yes, I do love those.
And all of those like coin operated like mechanical things. It's a whole museum full of stuff like that.
You're kidding me. Where's this at?
It's up in Detroit.
It's not worth it.
So I know, just like all big
Take
cities,
him to Detroit.
You have an instinctive fear of
I lived in big cities, man.
But
Hurricane. Hey, those machines. This is gonna date me. Hey, someone's got to. But when I was a little kid, those machines were still around.
That's really cool.
And
you
so,
got to experience that.
The ones where you drive the little helicopter and stuff. I was all up in it, man. I thought those are cool.
Yeah.
And those things, the video games didn't give you that tactile feel or the visual 3D. I mean, these things were elaborate. They'd have a big bubble, and there'd be a helicopter, and there'd be a full city in this thing.
Right.
You'd be flying that sucker around. It'd be on rails or whatever. But it was still awesome.
Yeah. I'd love to get into that stuff.
Or there's tons of shooting games.
Right.
Tons of those.
That stuff is so incredibly expensive to buy.
And you'd shoot the rifle at the targets, and and they had haunted house ones and stuff. Oh man. I would love that. I've came close to buying those, but I know I'm not a woodworker or a mechanic.
Expensive to restore.
Oh man.
Yeah, but
that would be awesome.
If you ever do find yourself up in I think it's probably not in like downtown, falling apart Detroit. It's in the Michigan area around there.
That's awesome. If anybody ever goes up there, any of the listeners, shoot me a line. Let me know how it is. You never know. I've been up to Detroit before, believe it or not. So,
But before we get into Marvin, what news is going on in the Amiga scene this
Before we
week?
get into the news, do you know who Marvelous Marvin Hagler was?
I have no idea.
Really?
I know about Merle Haggard. Are they related?
No, Marvelous Marvin Hagler was a middleweight boxer of renown.
Where was he from?
Heck if I know. America. I don't know.
I didn't know if he was from England or someplace like that.
He had perhaps the greatest boxing match of all time with Tommy Hitman Hearns. They certainly had arguably the greatest round of all time. The first round of this fight is a non-stop action. And so, anyone that cares, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, bald guy, heck of a fighter. Looks like a heel. That's him right there. A mean mistreater. He was a bad man, and that was when that division was full of real studs. And that's when Sugar Ray Leonard was around. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Same guys.
I guess he upset Marvin Hagler.
I think the screw job was in on that one personally, but I was not a big fan of Sugar Ray, but he did earn my respect. And again, I was a Hitman Hearns guy. Anyway, I digress. So let's talk news. Amiga news, my favorite kind of news. So we got a few tidbits this week. There's a new Amiga podcast. Let's bill it. It's out of Ireland.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I was intrigued, to say the least. It's the Amiga Ireland group.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's an established group of something.
I think they have that convention every year, and
that's it. That's what they've got. And they talk about some stuff. I listened to the first podcast, and it's a quick one. It's good. I enjoyed it. Good for them. More of those. This made the rounds this week in the news, and I thought I'd mention it. Somebody uploaded what he called a video of every Amiga game ever made being played.
Wow.
Now
that's a lot of Amiga games.
This is a tall boast, which is also wrong. It is an incorrect boast. He's missing. Well, no one can play every game.
Yeah.
Because let's face facts. We've played games in this show that like one of our buddies made, right? So who knows? But he did play a lot. He did play 7 hours worth of games,
which is commendable.
Oh yeah, and who wouldn't? All right, you got 7 hours to kill, so that's a good watch if you're bored. Now this another one that made the rounds this week, and I didn't mention it last week when I initially saw it, but I had to have a look at it. This is like Ebony and Ivory, the two sides joining hands in a lovely musical tribute. It's the Atari ST and the Amiga playing Dueling Banjos. Glorious.
Yeah.
Glorious.
Let's do a little bit of it.
All right.
All right, that's enough.
It's Dueling Banjos, which is a great song anyway.
Yeah.
Especially around these parts.
Oh, yeah. We live in Deliverance.
That's true. Bo, you got a pretty mouth, sir, if I may say.
Thank
Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, yes. Finally, in the Amiga games getting the nod or the upgrade on the Greenlight, Steam Greenlight zone, you've got Gods Remastered. Now, I had a look at Gods Remastered to see what the fuss was, and it looks like Gods. It looks remastered. I will say, I think the title character, the guy, Hercules, I believe. It's funny. I watched the video, actually, for our people who are on the video, both showing the video now. The video shows the old Gods and the new Gods. And I thought the old Gods looked a lot cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, and certainly the title character looks much. This guy looks like the new guy. Looks kind of tubby. Mm-hmm. It's like if I became Hercules. It's like, give me a second here. I'm back. I could jump up that ledge. Now, that much said, I know it's a work in progress. And of course, it's got what you would expect. It's got incredible visual effects and. I'm polymorphic bionomical fog and all that.
I don't know how the Greenlight process works now because it's been changed several times. So I don't know if this is once it gets greenlit, development will really start, and these are just sort of like a few scenes. Or
that's what I was wondering as well. Yeah,
but you're right. He does look like a portly fellow.
I mean, if you watch the old footage, I know you're not a big fan of Gods, but I love Gods. I like that sort of. Slow styled platformer. Mm-hmm. It's unusual. Most of them aren't like that. It's
very unique. You're right.
And if you get into it, it can be a lot of fun. And the puzzles are fun. Mm-hmm. But it had the Bitmap Brothers, I believe, did that one, and it had a really neat. They were real aces when it comes to doing that sort of thing, and it looked great, and it had a very cool vibe to it. Nice feel. And this, I mean, to me, it just sort of looks. Low budgety, like it's just kind of there. It's obviously an updated version of Gods, but but again, I don't know what the status is. I'm not against it by any stretch. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, hey, get this out of here. I'd like to see Gods get remastered, but I want to see them do a good job,
right?
As well. But anyway, that was up for grabs this week, and we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Court's still out in that one. What do you got for site updates, Bo?
We got a couple things. Dreamcatcher interviewed the one and only Simon Phipps.
Did you read this article yet?
I have not read it yet.
It was interesting,
but I want to read it because this guy has done a lot of good stuff. He did Dangerous 1 and 2, Switchblade, Wolfchild, and Bubba and Sticks.
And the part that's most interesting was that when they talked about Monty Python, because the questions that he asked are like, "Did you meet the Pythons?" And I was like, "No, I didn't. Nothing." But it was interesting. It was still interesting.
Yeah.
This guy looks like a bad dude.
Oh
too.
yeah.
He's got a cool shirt. He's got a kind of
that hair
haircut.
Yep.
Cool tattoos. Like I would want to. This you don't think like this is a guy that worked on Monty Python. No. This looks like a guy that would work on like.
Work on your face with a switchblade.
If you don't pay your bookie.
Right.
He's a tough looking dude.
Jason, it's not Jason. It's Gary. Published his Amiga 3000 Assembly Part 3.
They're very popular series. It's getting tons. It's one of our leading series right now.
Right. And so make sure you check that out to see the next part of this thing coming together.
I was watching this. And because this is the part where you get into the setup of the drives.
This is more the software side of things.
Man, I'm telling you.
He really knows what he's doing.
I'm going to be watching this by. Because God, I love Gary because I mean he keeps it simple for the humanoids.
I mean he really does a good job of putting these things together.
Because I remember when I was setting all those years ago when I set up my my CF card, and I was just like, good grief, man.
Yeah.
And I did this for a living on the PC, but you forget. I mean, the Amiga is a whole different kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, holy smokes.
Absolutely.
And Gary goes to work. He's showing you the disc you need. He tells you what to do. This guy, where's the instructional series? Or, I mean, the videos he's cranking them out. We could be selling these to NECs across the country, and
right.
Well, in circa 1982.
If we had a time machine.
Oh yeah.
But
I keep forgetting that.
Gary was just so fortunate to get all of those different Amigas. But it couldn't have happened to a better guy because
kidding.
These are all going to get restored, I'm sure, at some point and find good homes.
Yeah,
So.
Gary knows his stuff. That's a fact.
Yeah. We had some Amigos plays this week. We had you did Outrun Europa. Did we talk about that last week?
I can't remember if I did I did do Outrun Europa. Mm-hmm. I think I did do it. Was it last Saturday? I can't remember. It was pretty recent.
Time is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, what did you think of Outrun Europa?
It was a lot better than Outrun Non-Europa. But it was my biggest complaint with that is that the view behind your car is too low.
Too low. Mm-hmm.
Lotus did it right, especially Lotus 2. Right? I know, same old sad song, but hey, there's a reason why people talk about it.
Right.
This game had a different aspect, like anything with boating or on your jet ski is garbage. Garbage. Unplayable. Like, I mean, I don't know what they were smoking. I want to meet the man that can whiz through this level without getting killed. I want to meet you, sir. The car levels, you get to drive a Porsche, you get to drive a couple other cars, a motorbike, right? They're all sort of the same, but you can see, for our people watching the video at home, look at the view area for that. I mean, you can't see anything coming. Mm-hmm. You can't see anything.
Yeah, if they'd have just put the...
if the car was smaller or further back towards the camera or anything.
Yeah.
Or even no car.
Right.
And I couldn't find an option to turn the car off.
I'm surprised by that.
And the thing is, this game is, you go across different continents, and it's sort of... It's not Outrun, okay? But there's our branching areas. They tried to do something different. And it could have been a contender. It could have been okay. But, yeah, I didn't like it. It had, you remember Techno Cop?
Yep.
The driving in that had the exact same problem. It was too... The camera angle was too far directly behind the car. This isn't like Tomb Raider. We need a little bit of sky here so we can see what the heck's coming up.
Exactly. Chris played Danger Mouse this week. Danger Mouse, that popular UK cartoon series. But apparently this game is not that great.
Stunning.
So, yeah. Chris has a new series of games called We Play It So You Don't Have To. So you can check out. I mean, just look at that. How could that not be a great game? Look at that animation.
And Danger Mouse took a real header there, didn't he?
Yeah.
It looks like, I mean, that looks like a Java game from circa 1997.
Right. It's shades of Popeye 2 in there.
Yeah. I think that same company did a lot of these. Man, he did a lot of junk on here, though. We got
we got Ed the Duck also now.
And then, I don't know if we mentioned there's a few articles in here.
Yeah, well, I'm not done with the side
I'm sorry.
effects.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So Chris also did Ed the Duck. Are you familiar with Ed the Duck?
The name, I must have heard it somewhere.
I think
remember
it's
when this came up.
I think it's a British kids TV show.
Yeah, I mean, I must have. I've never watched an episode.
Yeah,
and after looking at this screen, I'm never going to watch it because this looks like nightmare material.
And then finally, the last side update that I have is the Dreamcatcher actually went through and reviewed all of the Jetsons games for the Amiga. And I've got to say that the text adventure Jetsons game is kind of neat. Kind of a different take on it. Looks like, a lot of these scenes were drawn specifically for the game.
The art looks great.
Yeah, I mean, and so, text adventures are what they are. But it's still it's better than just another garden variety platformer. So thank you, Dreamcatcher, for writing about all these games. And there's certainly a variety. I'm gonna have to check that out more in detail soon.
There's a few other things I'm seeing. Again, our news has gotten a little bit wacky. had we pitched Dreamcatcher's interview with the Ocean French coder? That looks like something I don't know when that article must have snuck up. I don't even remember reading that one. That might be good.
I haven't seen that one either.
It's bad. It's our site, and there's stuff here that I haven't seen. And also, I don't think you ever announced this because I watched it because it was funny. But you and Chad played Thomas the Tank Engine 2. Did you guys talk about that?
We never promoted that on the show. Chad just came over one night.
He mentioned to me, he's like, "Yeah, we played this Thomas game." I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, we had a request from somebody on YouTube to play the second Thomas game, which was it's a racing game. It's a 2D racing game, and what you do is it's sort of like, I don't even know. It's on rails.
It's sort of like if you combine a train racing game with Dragon's Lair. It's like. This way leads to certain death.
The problem with it is that whenever you'd go to sort of refuel, the game would crash. So
that's unusual. I actually, of course, we may have a Thomas project in the future, as we discussed. And so I played the Thomas games, and I'd already played pinball. Because I remember you did. I think you did an Amiga's play on that as well, right?
Amiga, Thomas pinball.
And I had played 1 and 2 of this a couple weeks ago. And what an odd choice for the Thomas license. These games where there are these races, and the races were really hard. I mean, I don't know. I was put on the easiest level. I'm like, how can any kid possibly have any luck on this? And the less about the memory game, the better. I mean, I was, gosh, you talk about bombing out. My kid used to watch Thomas, so I know something about their universe. And if I was in the Thomas universe, I would have been sent to the smelter. It was over for me. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for the site updates this week. What do you say we dive right into Marvin's Marvelous Adventure?
All right. Now, Bode, I know you were a big fan of. I know you're a big fan of this type of genre of game here. So let's talk about Marvin. This came out in '94, so later release. Published by 21st Century. Now, where does that come from? You've heard them, right? Many times.
What are some of their hits?
They did Pinball Dreams, Pinball Fantasies, Pinball Illusions, Pinball Mania, Slam Tilt, Pinball, and Deliverance.
Did you notice that their logo was different for this game?
I did.
It wasn't that ship, the Viking ship.
Yeah, they changed it. Now, here's what I think is really interesting about this. Was the developer of this, because I'd never heard of him. It was developed by an outfit called Infernal Byte Systems. What a name, right? Infernal Byte Systems didn't do that many games. They did a few. They did, and I'm going to go through some of these because that leads up to something. So they did a game called Demo's Quest. Tell me if you've heard of one of these. They did a game called Gain Force, which apparently was on a cover disc. They did a game called Lethal Zone, which I think was also on a cover disc.
These games just sound like random words put together.
They did a game called Master Blazer.
Is it about a sport coat?
I don't know what. Oh, boat. That's bad. Nebulous 2.
What about Nebulous 1?
Pogo a Go-Go.
I'm telling you, it's just like they opened a dictionary and just like random words.
So this was, I would say, now not playing other games. I'm guessing this is probably their big game.
This is their magnum opus.
Get this. I was trying to find stuff out about this game. And let me see if I can find this crazy quote here. Oh, yeah. So, a guy that worked for Infernal Byte Systems and it was their producer, was a guy named Julian I'm going to butcher this. You want to try this name? Eggbrecht. Mm-hmm. He was also a member of the famous Amiga programming team Factor 5. Okay, so he had this outfit, Infernal Byte Systems, had been tagged with the task of developing Deluxe Mule for the Amiga.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that bizarre?
What a missed opportunity.
It never happened. The conversion was started, but it stopped because of some trouble with the license. And Electronic Arts, I guess they weren't down with the clown on it, and so it got ixnayed. So Amiga came an ace of having Mule, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Deluxe Mule, no less. I don't know what that would have entailed. Mule is another game that would probably is probably in the Hall of Fame of computer games overall. People love it. Gosh, it's so bad. Our version. So, Marvin's Marvelous Adventure. You want to try to explain the gameplay on this a little bit, because you really play. I will say, for the record, I had a heck of a time playing this game. It would not run on my Amiga because it was in PAL. As far as I could tell, there was no NTSC release ever. And this is there are most PAL games I can run, and they just sort of are scooted down the screen, but sometimes you run them, and depending on what resolution or what they're running in, you just can't see jack squat. And this was one I could not, just flat out could not play on the 1200. And so, I had trouble emulating it. And eventually, when I finally did get it emulated, I could only use the keyboard to play it. It was a real rough go of it for me. So, Boat had a lot more time playing it hardcore.
Well, before we go into the game itself, why don't we talk about the backstory a little bit?
Oh, God. Okay, sure. So, this I'm all too familiar with. So, the backstory of this thing is goofy as heck. There's a professor. He's working on this a machine that can manipulate or affect human brain waves. And he finishes it at the beginning of the game and then decides, I need a nap. I'm going to order me a pizza to celebrate my awesomeness. It's my favorite food. And then I'm going to take a nap. So where's the pizza? Well, there's an evil guy milling around that has watched his work and wants to take the helmet. And so the guy sneaks into the house, and he screws around with the helmet and removes some chips. And then the pizza boy shows up. Wakes up the professor. The bad guy's is dealing with the professor. He's getting ready to zap him. Pizza boy comes in, and the bad guy stupidly forgets that he's screwed with the helmet and zaps them all into this marvelous adventure world. Whatever it is, other universe or whatever, the other dimension. And so that's the approach of the game. And the goal of the game, because the bad guy has got the professor and he stashed him, so where's to go, defeat the bad guy, and get the professor and then get home. And trust me, as boring as my attempt to describe it, you should actually read the opening narrative, which is, of all the parts of this game, that's the worst part.
Yeah.
It goes on forever.
I immediately hit the button and
skipped
it.
Yeah, Boat didn't even bother listening. I did read the whole thing, and it's... I mean, you've played a ton of these games from Japan, these role-playing games, right, on the Nintendo and stuff. And, granted, you can skip this. And there's a ton of reading, and some people just don't want to read this crap. Right? And some people really get into it. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's got their personal taste. But, this is not on the level of any... This is rock bottom boring. And the little cinematics that come with it aren't really that attractive either.
I wouldn't call them cinematics as much as they are static drawings.
Yeah, they're not really anything. And they're not even... they're not great looking. I'm looking at one right here in front of me on the video, and it's just... it's a weak effort.
It does not inspire confidence.
And one would wonder why you've got an AGA and you got stuff going on. You couldn't do some cartoons or something for this. And maybe there's a version out there that has a beautiful cinematic, but the version we got, and I'm looking at the same one that I had, is what you've got. That's weak. Yeah. That part was real super weak. Now, please.
Okay, so this game is an attempt to kind of capture the magic of the platforming scene that had been going on in the console world for the past, couple of years. This is a late release 94, so they kind of had a chance not only to learn from some of the console heavy hitters like Mario and Sonic, but they'd also had a chance to learn from some of the Amiga previous platformers like Super Frog and Zool. And for the most part, this game does improve upon those previous Amiga platformers. It's not as difficult as Super Frog. There aren't as many crazy jumps that lead directly to your blind jumps to spikes like Zool has.
Zool loved them.
This game employs an energy meter that is very generous.
It is.
I think that there's something like 10 little, pips that you have, and whenever you get hit, it might take away 2 or 3 of them or something like that. You can take 3 or 4 hits before you die. So they were deliberately trying to make this game easier, which was a good thing. And the game itself, the controls, once you have to caveat anything with Amiga platformers because up is jump. And so this game is incredibly difficult for me to control, leaving the controls the way they are. However, if you were playing the CD32 version, we believe that jump was mapped to a second button, and I, for darn sure, remapped jump to a second button just with WinUAE using my control pad. That makes the game really a joy to play. This game is very long. There's 60 levels in this game. And just like, I don't know what, Amiga platform developers were, they would all congregate and they would say, we really just need to make sure that your guy can collect as many things as possible that mean absolutely nothing to the game. Because this is the case in Super Frog, this is the case in Zool, this is the case in James Pond, and this is the case in Marvin. You're collecting apples that add to your score. You're collecting other things that like there's moons and suns. These things may do something. In the first level, there's about 40 little help bubbles. That
everywhere.
Yeah, and when you go there, they give you this information. But after the second or third one, I was like, man, I just want to play the game. So I disregarded it.
There were tons of those things too. I mean, they're helpful to a dumb guy like me. I was like, okay, yeah.
But again, this is sort of taking off of Super Mario World, which did the same thing because there's just so many new mechanics to learn. Your guy. One thing you have to know about the sprites in this game is, everything is small. Your guy is probably, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 sprites high. He's colorful. He's got personality, but his personality in the game is different than his personality in the loading screen. Yeah. So he's kind of wide-eyed and looks like he's ready for adventure, when you're playing the actual sprite. But when you go to loading screens and things like that, he's got sort of this like menacing appearance, like he's sort of like the classroom bully.
It just shows his face, and he's got this look on his face like, yeah.
So it's a little bit weird. The game is very, very colorful. I mean, they must have used all of the colors in the Amiga's palette, and it's welcome. There's parallax scrolling in the backgrounds that looks really good. The game is, I mean, the artwork, because the sprites are so small, they do look pixelated. If they would have sort of smoothed it out a little bit by making the characters bigger, it wouldn't have looked quite that way. But that's a stylistic choice, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm a fan of the way that Marvin ducks. When he ducks, he sort of hides, like Aaron said, he hides his face in his pants.
He sticks his whole head down.
Yeah. So it's kind of different. There's definitely a lot of nods to the Mario series. He has a sort of a spin move that's almost sort of like a Sonic, just a slower speed.
You talking about when he rolls?
Yeah, when he rolls. There's hidden areas, there's hidden blocks. The game doesn't run too fast, it doesn't run too slow, and that's a hard thing to really nail down when you're making a platformer. So I commend them for that. Altogether, I think that excuse me, that this is oh boy, I must be allergic. It's a solid effort. It's a solid effort for a platform that unfortunately was not going to be around too much longer after this game was released.
It's part of me thinks this could have been. I think this is more of a candidate to port than Super Frog or some of the other games like Zool. I mean, I guess Zool was a decent port. I mean, this seems like something more portable than those games. I mean, I could see almost playing this on an NES or a Master System or even a Genesis.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that. I've been playing a lot of Master System recently, and the Master System had a larger color palette than the NES, and that allowed it to have games like Sonic 2 ported over. And I could definitely see this. That's a great point. This would definitely be at home.
The only thing that gets me is, and again, this is I told Bo when I first played this game, it reminded me of a marriage of several other games, and one thing it kept from like your Super Frog and your Zool is it's just there's a lot of stuff laying around. I mean, in my opinion, it's just too cluttery. I mean, there's just too much. I don't know what it is with the Amiga platformers and with all this collectibles. It's just tons and tons. Less is more, in my opinion. Now, this game's not annoying as as say Super Frog was, where it's just like a billion things. But I mean, there's not that much, but there's still too much for my taste. Like I told Bo, my biggest problem with this game was the size of Marvin. The whole game, it's a mixed result. It's a mixed blessing. The game looks good. There's a lot going on the screen, but it's sort of smallish, like he said. The character's not very tall, and it makes for me, and someone that's blind, it makes it hard to hit some of these pinpoint jumps, and especially when you're jumping on stuff. The game, like I said, it runs nice. It looks good. It doesn't really tread. It doesn't really. I'm not saying it does a whole lot of new stuff. You know, I mean, it's not doing anything incredible. They played Mario and Sonic and a few other games, and they took bits and pieces from each one. But they've got. I mean, it's not a complete ripoff. They've got their own flair in a couple places.
Right, and I think it's neat. You know, some of the later levels, Marvin can board a ship. He can board a boat. In one scene, an octopus actually envelops Marvin's head and transports him from place to place.
Yeah, and the like I said, I was telling Bo, if you played an old game called Commander Keen on the PC, which granted it was a lot uglier than this, but it had the reason I mentioned it had a little guy in it. It was a smaller guy. It was a platformer, and I had the similar problems with that one. But if that game and Super Frog and what was the other game we mentioned in our tree, and Zool had a kid, this is probably what it would be. You know. Now, that all said, and those aren't really negatives because those are all pretty good games. This one has a lot going on. I played a lot of it. There's level codes in this, which makes it easy to skip around. And I found all the codes and went through and tried some of the different levels. And like Bo said, there's a lot of interesting stuff. It doesn't really get boring, and they try a bunch of different stuff. Some shootery stuff and some other stuff like that. That makes it interesting. And there's a lot of levels. I mean, you get a lot for your money. I think when I first started playing it, I was like, man, I don't know about this. And the controls are tough. If you can get around that, if you could do what Boat did, it plays an emulation, or if you have a CD32, that's probably the way to go. Again, the same problem we've had from Jump Street. I talked to some of our buddies, some of our Patreon people about this. I mean, the lack of that second button on the Amiga is a real killer, and especially with platformers. I mean, if you try to do anything special, it makes it really difficult in a lot of ways. And so the glorious thing about emulation, I know not everyone's into it, but that's the one thing you can do is map those joysticks to do different stuff, and that does a big help. But I will say, without giving any spoilers away, this game has one of the worst openings I've ever seen, and it has one of the worst endings I've ever seen. Just a very non-satisfying conclusion of this game. But it absolutely set it up for sequels, which never came. As far as I know, do we know if I don't think this got any port. It may be on the ST, but I don't have anything written down.
Just the CD32 and the Amiga.
And
that's
so,
all I found. If
you think about that, I mean, it's a quality game, I guess is what I'm saying. Whether you like platformers or not, or if it's not your bag, it's still a quality game. I'm surprised that it hasn't been picked up.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I guess the CD32 version actually had different audio than the AGA
Yeah, I probably
version.
used the Red Book or whatever audio. Yeah, the audio is okay. You know, it's not anything spectacular. It's funny. A lot of the people that worked at Infernal Byte didn't do anything else. I mean, I looked through the list here. The coder only did one other game on the Amiga, and the people that did graphics only did one or two other games, and a lot of people that never did any other games. I mean, this is pretty much. It's funny, the Amiga. We've looked at a couple games where like you'd think, wow, this is they're really on the track here, and then they just stopped.
Right.
You know, now again, this was late in the game, and I don't know, maybe these guys were trying to capitalize on the shrinking Amiga market at the time. You know, but '94, there was still a lot of stuff hopping. You know, so I mean, they had something here, and we spoke about this. We were both surprised. The reviews for this game were kind of crummy.
Yeah,
I'll go through some here. And Bo, you give me your thoughts on these. Amiga Computing in '95, they give it 60%. I mean, that's 60%. That's rough, man. Amiga Format, which are usually pretty fair, 64%. Amiga Power gave this 26%.
I mean, that's enough for me to never trust anything Amiga Power ever says
again.
And then
CU Amiga gave it 85, so they were a little fair. I think 80 and the one gave it 82. I think those are pretty fair.
Yeah, if you're in the, I think this is an 80s.
Sure,
yeah.
sure. I mean,
But 26. Oh my gosh.
I don't know what.
They must have had an axe to grind with Infernal Bite.
Well, I mean, I guess they won because Infernal Bite didn't do a whole lot. That's for sure. Real quick, I had a look at this thing on eBay, and if I can find where I put it. You talked about something you're not going to see too often. There was not a lot of action on it. I don't know if I can find where I put the darn thing. Hold the phone for a second, Bo, while I find this. While I dig this out here.
You know, one of the other things that I thought was kind of interesting about Marvin is that even though it's small, like just like all the best game, like they could have made his walk animation look really bad. I mean, when you have a small sprite, the thing about the way that the lemmings move, you know, there's only like how many frames of animation are in this, but he's actually got a little bit of a strut to him. The enemies are all different all the time. I mean, you don't have just like 3 or 4 enemies, like you really got like a variety. So
I like when you do the double. He'll do like, if you double jump, he'll do like a front flip, you know, which I always think that's kind of nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of little changes. That I really think that this is, it might be my second favorite platformer behind
Lionheart.
Behind Lionheart, of course. Yeah. I mean, and by Lionheart, I mean the Addams Family. I feel like I could really sit back and I feel like I might come back to this, and that's not something that I say a lot about a lot of platformers that we cover on the show.
I would like to try it with the proper control setup, and I wasn't able to burn a copy of this for the CD32. I'm having some burn issues, but it's on the list. And I will say, as far as the platformers go, this is one of the more polished ones. You know, it's funny. Until this was recommended, do you remember who recommended this to us? Ravi? Well, there you go. He's the man that has a plan. He knows what's going on. I'd not heard of this, and it surprises me because, and maybe, you know, one thing to consider is, like, I had so much trouble running it, is maybe that's why I didn't ever hear about it. It's just because of people in the States, it's a pain for us. I mean,
and of course, it never got a U.S. release.
Oh, no. I did find my eBay stuff here. So, there is some of these available. It's not super rare. If you're in the UK, and there's one in Germany as well. So there's a few different ones out there, and they're going between $22 and $45 shipped US bucks. So that's not a bad price, you know, to pay for. And they're boxed, and that's the box version. So I mean, if you had a CD32, this was I'd almost say at $20 or so, that'd almost be a must buy. Yeah. You know, I mean, given the what's out there, the trickle software.
You know, I don't even think probably the cheapest CD32 games that are probably around $20 anyway, right? I mean, it's rare to find anything for less than that.
The CD32 runs the old CDTV stuff, and I've seen some of that stuff that's really, like, I've got a couple of really dud titles with CDTV that go pretty cheap, but you know, there's a lot of crap out for the CD32. I mean, right. In fact, I would go as far as say the majority of the stuff out there is crap. I mean, this would be, if you think about what would be the best platformer on the CD32 that we would know of, because I don't think Addams Family got a release. Yeah. So it'd be Super Frog, right? Or, you know, unless there's a couple out, you know, I had to go back and look at Mad's CD32 videos to see which ones.
Yeah. Did Zool 2 get a...
I'm sure Zool must have gotten a release on there. I'm pretty sure.
I think Zool 2. Definitely.
But do you like Zool 2 more than Super Frog? Or James Pond? Maybe they... You know,
I think we just played Zool. I don't think we played Zool 2.
I've played Zool 2. So I know...
And but from what I know about Zool, it's a harsh mistress.
That's another one. You know, think about this. Zool got a release on the Jag, right? If you're a guy that's developing or looking for games to port over to the Jag, you would pass on this and to go with Zool. Yeah, I mean, no way, man.
Well, again, it was the era of Tood.
I guess. I don't know.
Zool's got a lot of Tood.
Zool, what is he? He's not even an ant. What the heck, you know?
He represents an ant-like species.
He's a guy that has a huge bag that he can put all that junk he's collected in, and a sweet tooth from hell.
Oh my gosh, that first level, I still have nightmares about that. So we've got a question from our listeners. As always, you can write in at questions@amigospodcast.com and ask us anything. Really?
Well,
I mean, we might not answer, but you can ask us.
I'll lie if it suits me.
Chris Folds writes in.
Chris Folds.
And he says, which Amiga game is your go-to game? The one given the choice. The first... His question is, which Amiga game is your go-to game when you boot up the system? What's the first thing you want to put in? His is Speedball 2.
Mine, and I'll just tell the first thing that popped into my head. Stunt Car Racer, man. It's a quick and dirty. I jump in and play it, and I'm always happy that I can play for 10 minutes and be done. Stunt Car Racer.
For me, my answer is a little weird. It's Lotus 2, but I go on YouTube and I look up the Outrun soundtrack, and I play the Outrun soundtrack while I'm playing Lotus. And to me, that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, because you ain't gonna play the Outrun soundtrack on the Outrun that we got.
No.
That's of all the. That's a good choice for starters, and the good music too. How do you botch that? And the thing is, Sega had a lot of good releases on the Amiga. Yeah. But man.
Well, I think U.S. Gold's involvement had
Did you not see Hang On? At least it was halfway decent. I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
Horrible. Good question. That's a good question.
So thanks, Chris, for writing that in.
Jump exactly.
We're nearing the end of the show. And
do we know what we have on tap? We don't, do we?
Look at that. We've got two cameras going on here. Take that off. So we need to thank our Patreon sponsors. All right. So Aaron, I've got a.
Oh Lord! I thought I forgot about this.
I've got a musical tribute to them this week.
Is that what it is?
And this comes from the greatest summer of my life.
69.
The summer of '96.
Well, I was close.
You're 10 years away.
Well, I know. I'm old. You know, this guy's a big wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Kebab, David McCrandles, Gary Hucker, Will Williams, Ravi Abbott, Kim Tommy Humberstad, Josh Nash, Jason Moons, and Lane, Eric Nelson, Graham Pepke, Paul Harrington, Rob O'Hara, Lauren Giroux, Jonas Rouleau.
You're working with a teleprompter.
One bombing tapes from the crypt, Adam Bradley, Chris Folds, Daniel Banks, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Chad Halstead and Brutal Barracuda. Special thanks to Zoostats and World of Long Plays.
That's beautiful, except for... Oh, it was totally beautiful, except you forgot Brent.
No, I didn't.
Go back and rewind it.
Did I go straight from Chad Halstead to Brutal Barracuda?
Brent, you could deal with both on your own time.
Well, we're saying his name like 50 extra times now.
Brent.
There we go.
You don't want to make that guy angry. To kill you.
That's true. True. So next week
we do have something.
We do have something lined up.
Well, odd. We are organized, which is unusual.
It's almost as if somebody made a Google Doc that said plan our upcoming episodes.
You know, I like to be spontaneous.
It only took us 90 episodes to figure out how to do that.
And we'll probably break this over and over.
Yeah. So next week we're going to return to a series that we covered a couple months back, the famous Shadow of the Beast series, but we're skipping over 2 for reasons I don't completely understand.
We'll get around to it.
And going right to Shadow of the Beast 3.
Trey. Yeah. We're going to give that one a whirl. I recall it, and we're going to give it a shot. This is one of mine, so we'll see if it sucks. That's on me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Until then,
adios.